Peace and blessings. Alafia. Habari gani. Bienvenue. Hetapu. Greetings in the name of Creator, Creatress in the universe, and the ancestors in the Shepsu and the Gungun. We're back on the Jellyba channel, African Ancestral Manuscript channel. Today we're trying to establish why, as a matter of fact, any nationalism in Akibuland or Africa, or identifying with different countries, makes no sense. Lots of people are not aware, and I wasn't even aware of this. But do you know how the nations in Africa were created? Berlin, 1886. How Europe underdeveloped Africa. Walter Rodney. I talked about him in March. He was actually born in March, and we had his bio. But it was Berlin, 1886, whereby which the European powers congregated. There was a scramble for Africa, and they were doing all that they could to get the resources, enslave the people, colonize the people, and do all types of wickedness. So they decided that they no longer wanted to fight each other in Africa. They wanted to organize themselves. So they decided to go to Berlin. The Kaiser called all the Europeans. He said, just like David Lynch, he said, my European brothers, my European co-murderers and co-victimizers, let's get together, let's plan it, let's structure it, so that we'll have each a sphere of influence, and no other European power would go into that sphere of influence, so that we would be able to take advantage of the natives, so-called barbarians, who were really the Europeans. So they organized themselves, and they had a map of Africa, and just like Monopoly, just like Risk, they drew the boundaries, knowing full well that if they drew boundaries well, divided ethnic groups, and drew lines, parallel lines here and there, these boundaries would lead to lots of incivility for centuries and centuries to come. That's why the AU, the mission of the OAU, which was the Organization of African Unity, which became the AU, and people like Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, who started that organization, is so critical. And we've got to understand the United States of Africa is what it should really be. The boundaries were created by Europeans who wanted to divide and conquer and rule for very long, instill dissent, disorder, disharmony, up until today. We're in that neo-colonialist system. And one of the vestiges of the neo-colonialist system is the same borders which they created for us, we have reinforced and live by. It's like my name used to be Stevens because a colonial master could not pronounce Tibbet. And so he started calling us Stevens. And then all of a sudden, people in the family, even though they know the story and they have the freedom to return their name to the original source, they just want it to appear European. It boggles your mind. It boggles your mind that you are not in sync with your ancestors like you should be. Those boundaries are not real. They are illusionary, created for dissent, disorder, disharmony. We really need to elevate our consciousness. There's one Africa, if you want to call it Akibuland, call it Kemet, call it Tawi, call it the source of humanity. Whichever way you splice it or split it, the very unnatural frontiers and boundaries which have been created are one of the animating forces of dissent. Not the only one. The education of the people to feel like they're Europeans and to identify with a colonial master and wear that colonial imperialistic skin on their faces is also a problem. Like Frantz Fanon was saying, Black Skin, White Mask, another great book which I'll be taking out sometime soon for us to take a look at. So, what is the boundary to African unity? The boundary is the boundaries of the mind which were created, and the boundaries in the land which were created for us not for our benefit. And when we start understanding that and understanding that, we need to make a change. We need to, first of all, be global Africans and identify with all African people, because we need unity. And from that perspective, we need to start breaking down all those little borders, understanding beyond the borders that there's one communal Lucy, mother of humanity, that was the mother of all humanity and mother of civilization in Africa. Return to our ways of doing things, our codifications, our land distribution. Prior to the boundaries in Africa, there were great empires like Mali, Songhai, there was the Nok, there was Kemet, there was Aksum, there was a great Zimbabwe, right? There was a great Congo, right? Ruled by the Angola, like in Zinga. These are some of the things, political education we need to give. I mean, some people don't even know that the boundaries in Africa are artificially created by Europeans. They think that somehow they came about by nature, by God, or by natural means, but they did not. And in order to deconstruct something, we need to go to its source. We are not those boundaries. When I say I'm from Cote d'Ivoire, I'm from Cameroon, I'm from Sierra Leone, I might say that just to form a sense of unity with the people around me, but in essence, I am all of Africa. I am a Kibuland, right? My ancestors were not delineated by that Berlin conference. They existed before, well before it, existed after it, and hopefully, eventually, we will cease to be defined by the European mind and the boundaries created for us by those who are seeking our downfall. Reflect on this a little bit. They talk about the Sebek cycle, how Sebek takes all the little pieces of the puzzle, right? And he thinks that he has the whole puzzle, but he only has one piece. So us in Africa, we have one little country, Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, whatever, and we think that's all we need. We need the whole puzzle. The whole puzzle is a Kibulan. This is a speech for African unity. Let's reflect on the mother continent of humanity. The mother continent of humanity needs to come back together. That's the source. Right here we have a very nice depiction of our wonderful Africa, Akibuland, the land of the Kamal. So let's seek to stop defining ourselves through the eye of the colonizer and the oppressor. Let's stop defining our region through the specifications which were made to divide and conquer us and keep us destabilized and lacking power for the rest of eternity. Let's get together, brothers and sisters. Let's unite. Start by uniting at home with your family. Don't see your next brother as an enemy because he comes from Sudan, you come from Uganda. That's so inconsequential in the scheme of things. And you're falling into the hand of the gamesters who have made this a game of division so that we can continue to be conquered. Reflect on this, and I'd like to say peace and blessings. Today is the 30th of March, 2022. We'll be getting back into some ancestral stories starting in April. Once again, the book of the day, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. It goes deep into what happened in Berlin and what the strategy was to keep us divided. And that's also the Willie Lynch strategy, which they used in America to keep black people, hating each other because of complexion, because of gender, because of the size, because of every other external factor, because they know that one finger not able banga, one finger can do nothing, but a fist, as we know in martial arts, can break concrete. So we need to stop being that one finger. We need to come together like the fist and the feet. All are so defined as so-called enemies and frenemies. Peace and blessings to all Massive. We're broadcasting live from the 416 in the T-Dot. To all Akibuland, let's get together, let's get act together, and let's contradict Berlin 1886 by being strong, one united African people, Peace and blessings to the Babas who, Kwame Nkrumah, Haile Selassie, Marcus Garvey, who knew that we had to be one. Ashe, ashe, ashe.